Hello, I'm Julia Fisher. Welcome to this week's edition of The Olive Tree, the programme that brings you first-hand the stories of both Jewish believers and Arab Christians living in Israel today. On last week's programme, we heard from Uzzi, an Israeli who was seriously injured during the Yom Kippur War in 1973, leaving him paralysed in both legs. Some years later, disillusioned with life and with God, he left his wife and daughter in Israel and went to work in South Africa. I asked him why.
I had an excellent job opportunity there as a database administrator. So off I went. I left a 10-year-old daughter that was born against all odds, because in my condition I was not supposed to father a child. In 1980, my daughter was born. I didn't divorce immediately after I divorced only in 1990. So for 17 years I was married. So off I went to what I thought was 1-year contract to South Africa, and I thought to myself that will help me to clear my head. When I went at the age of 40 to South Africa, I hated God with a passion. You know, Uzzi, in Hebrew it means my strength, implying this is my God's strength. It's taken from Psalm 28, and that's why my father named me. But it's also a famous Israeli submachine gun. And I just wanted to take my Uzzi and shoot God, because I said to myself, if such a cruel war could have started, Israel was nearly wiped off the map in the first 48 hours of that war. It could have started on the holiest of days, and when Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, falls on a Saturday, it's double holy. Not even 50 years after the Holocaust in Europe, there is no God in Israel. Silly me, not realizing that if not the God of Israel, Israel would have been wiped off the map in the first 48 hours. But I didn't know any better, and my life was in the dumps, actually, in all aspects. Except having a good profession and making good money, I was a very bad boy. Despite my injury, I also found success with the ladies somehow. I arrived in South Africa. The company first put me in a residential hotel there, where a believing lady, a former nurse by profession, met with me. She was also divorced with 2 small children, and she asked me, where do you come from? I said, from Israel. Oh, Israel, you know, the usual. And she started sprinkling the good news of Yeshua on me. Every day she said, I'm a Christian, you know. Big deal, I'm Jewish, you know. She said, no, but I'm a born-again Christian. And the term didn't mean a thing to me, of course. I said, well, that's wonderful, good for you. But she didn't give up, every day. Now, I love playing the keyboards, music keyboard. And she said, you know, I go to a church, it's a huge church in Johannesburg called Rhema Church. 3,000 people in one service, and we have a choir, and we have a band, and we clap, and we dance. And I said to myself, Uzzi, you're 40 years old. Except from black and white movies, I've never seen a church from the inside. All I know about church is all the bells and smells and people signing themselves and gloomy places. I said, okay, Candice, next time you go to that place of yours, just out of curiosity, I want to come. And that was it. The first service, the pastor there, the preacher, was Ray McCauley, a former bodybuilder. I think he was number 2 as Mr. Universe to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And boy, oh boy, he gave a message. And all I felt that he's talking to me and not to the other 2,999 people, and that he was actually putting a mirror in front of my face, and I didn't like the image. So I knew that I was not kosher. And when he made the altar call, this hand went up in the air. I didn't even remember putting it up. And I don't remember, I have a blackout. I just remember myself next to the pulpit asking for prayer. And I was transformed on the spot the first time in church.
So that's where you met with God and realized Yeshua was true, but yes. You were still paralyzed.
I was still very much paralyzed, but first thing I went, of course, to the church's bookstore, and I got myself a full Bible. But I had a problem, it was in English. I mean, I occasionally can speak and understand English, but I wanted my Hebrew Bible. I got myself full Bible, Old and New Testaments. But I phoned home in Tel Aviv, spoke to my parents, and my mom answered the phone. And I said to her, Ima, you will not believe what happened. I became a Christian. Now in Hebrew, when you say I became a Christian, it actually implies I've become a Gentile, that I lost my Judaism. And she said, I don't mind, Uzzi. I'm just thankful to God that you came back from that awful war. So whatever you believe in doesn't matter to me. Whatever is good for you, Uzzi. She was lovely. And then I said, okay, Ima, do you mind passing Abba to me? I want to ask him something. And he comes on the phone. Same story. I became a Christian. He said, that's very interesting. Okay. And I said, Abba, do you know the Bible? Obviously only the Old Testament that I received when I made my vows to the IDF on top of Mount Masada. He said, yes. Please, will you wrap it up and send it to me? And he said, Uzzi, is that you asking for a Bible? I said, yes, very much so. And indeed, he sent it to me. It took 3 more months before the Lord touched me and healed me.
How did that happen? Were you on your own?
No, God was there. But I wasn't on my own. I was accompanied by a lady, not the same lady that led me to the Lord. God knew that my intentions for her to start with may have not only been very pure. So he removed her from the scene, but he brought another little lady into my life that is in the past 21 years my wife. She's a South African believer. She accompanied me, but little did I know, I sensed though, that she wanted to actually say goodbye to me after that service. We went for the evening service. Rema is such a big church that they had to have 3 services a day. And for some odd reason, we went for the Sunday night service. Now, the night before Saturday night, Charlotte, my wife, wasn't then, but she asked me, Uzzi, don't you think it's time for us to start praying for your healing? And I said, no, Charlotte, I'm so used to my condition, really. It doesn't matter. What's more important for me is to pray for my daughter, 10-year-old daughter that was left in Israel. And not only did Abba and Ima divorce, a day later, Abba took off to Johannesburg, 6,000 miles away. And she took it very badly, of course. And Charlotte, in her wisdom, said, you know what, I have good news for you. God can deal with both issues concurrently. And we left it at that. The next day, as I said, we went for the evening service. It was an excellent sermon and everything. And the pastor, Ray, said, okay, we have 15 more minutes till the official end of the service. I feel that we should declare healing service. Whoever has a malady in his body or elsewhere, please come. Now, at Trema, every altar call, every call for healing, about 250 people just streamed down to the pulpit and get healed. And I was one of them. Went down, Ray McCauley touched me. I fell under the Spirit. Lying there on the floor with calipers on both my legs. I didn't have to use crutches when I had my braces on. Now, my left leg was fully paralyzed, which was an enigma because actually I'm high injury in my cerebellum. I was supposed to be paralyzed in my chest, my arms maybe, but not lower limbs. And that was a big enigma for years until they found the reason. Anyway, my left leg was fully paralyzed, both sensoric and motoric. I couldn't feel and I couldn't move the leg. My right leg was partially paralyzed, only from the knee downwards. And I could feel some sensation, but when I was lying there after being prayed for healing, in my left leg, all of a sudden, I felt as if 20 knives were stabbed into me. I said to myself, Uzzi, you're not supposed to feel that. It was awful pain. Anyway, I tried to get up off the floor. When you have 2 braces on you, it's not very easy. One of the ushers saw me and came, he gave me a hand and he said, you can go now. I said, I'm not going anywhere. Do you know what just happened here? I was taken aback. He said, no, what happened? I knocked on my calipers and I said, I'm originally from Israel. I came here paralyzed. I believe and I'm a new believer, only 3-month-old baby. I believe God touched me, and I lifted up my leg with a heavy calipers on, and of course it dropped immediately down. He says, "This is wonderful." So he was making signs for Pastor Ray to come again. Pastor Ray thought that he skipped me. He put his hand on me again. I said, "No, Pastor, it happened already." "What happened? Wait a minute. You're the invalid guy from Israel." Some choice of words, but never mind, he did the job. Anyway, I said, "Yes, I am, but no more." And I lifted up my leg again and pulled my trousers to show the caliper. And he says, "Wonderful, just run to the stage and give God the glory." I said, "The giving to God the glory bit I can do. Running I cannot." "Why not?" "Because I have braces on my leg." "Then take them off." I said, "Sorry, you cannot do that." "Why not?" "Because it means taking my trousers off." He said, okay, just go and give God the glory," which I did. When Charlotte said that God, she had, as I told you, plans to say goodbye to me. When she saw that God was doing miracles to me in my life, she couldn't say no. And we're happily married for 21 years, and it's only becoming better and better every day.
Uzzi sharing his extraordinary story. He later told me that when he went to see a specialist about his legs, the doctor told him it was a miracle. There was no other explanation as to how it was possible that Uzzi had regained the feeling in his legs and was able to walk again. You're listening to The Olive Tree with me, Julia Fisher, the program that week by week brings you true stories of both Jewish and Arab believers in Jesus living in Israel and the Palestinian areas today, to help us understand what God is doing there at this time. And the Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish and Arab Christians living in the Holy Land, especially those involved in reconciliation. So if you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please either visit our website olivetreefund.org or write to me, Julia Fisher, at the Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund, PO Box 850, Horsham, RH12 9GA in the UK. And if you'd like to hear this programme again or any edition of the Olive Tree, please visit the website olivetreefund.org. Join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.